Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Randy. How are you?
I'm good, Diana. You?
Good, good. So today is on the flip side, and we have Randy Powell on, and we both are very passionate about money and just understanding what it is, like why it's important, why you should care about it. And so that's why me and Randy got together to talk about money. So, Randy, what is our quote for the day?
Our quote is the goal isn't more money, the goal should be living life on your own terms.
100% agree. And so what are your thoughts on that quote?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost self-explanatory. I think all of us, just try to make as much money or to get more money, more money, more money. But I feel that we're being a little bit short-sighted, and what's really important is living your life, right? And living the life in a way and in a fashion that makes you happy and on your terms, as the quote says, right? So I think we should be less focused on the money itself, but more so what the lifestyle the money can give us.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, I feel like when you're living paycheck to paycheck is I think when you really get focused about money because you're so thinking like I just need to kind of survive or I need to pay these bills, right? And then you get really focused on the money because I feel like once you get to a certain level where you're starting to kind of break from that, you're getting like a little bit more freedom and you kind of have the ability to think of like what do I actually want? What is actually important to me is when
Right,
you I feel like you start realizing like okay, like that. Like I want a vacation this year. It's a non-negotiable. It's happening. Like I need to do a me thing, whatever it is. And then you say, okay, that's a vacation. I need to make $5,000 to, let's say, go on my vacation. And
right,
then that's kind of also where to see hand in hand, like you're doing what you want, which is in this case, let's say a vacation, but it also putting that dollar amount and breaking it down, obviously, to figure out how that's going to happen
right.
helps you out to be able to actually even achieve that goal. So money's kind of also a nice way of like grading yourself, like am I getting there? What do I need to change? Because maybe I missed this month. I was supposed to put in like a couple hundred and something happened, and it kind of makes you like revisit like what happened? Why didn't I make my 200? Like how what do I need to do to change and continue? What do you think?
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. And just to go back to, people who are, unfortunately, it is a reality. People do live paycheck to paycheck, right? And I don't think it always has to be the case. I know everyone has their own circumstances as to what their expenses are, right? But I find that a lot of the times it is actually possible to scale back living expenses, right? Most of the times, right? And for me, it's always about living below your means, right? As much as you can, because I find that no matter what, if you make it could be more money. Like, hey, I make 50 now, I want to make 100. You start making 100, and guess what? You're still living paycheck to paycheck, right? And it really comes down to prioritizing and money managing and budgeting, right? So it goes to what you're saying is you got to just plan out what it is you try. If it's a vacation a year that you're trying to get, if it's one day off a week you're trying to accomplish, right? So instead of working, 5 or 6 days, you're working 4 or 5 days, right? If these are the things that you're trying to accomplish, right, then make those, like you said, non-negotiable. Um, Write it down, plan it out. Happy New Year, by the way, because it is January.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And this is a time where everyone wants to plan out their year or say, hey, I want to make more money this year. And they're super pumped. But then by February, we're back into this regular cycle of paycheck to paycheck. And it really comes down to, your expenses. People are just spending more or just as much as they make, right? So I would say for people is just focus a little bit less on about the money, focus on the goals, right? And then um, calculate it backwards, and then figure out how you're going to get there.
Totally agree. And something actually that you also brought up that was a very good point is that a lot of people do paycheck to paycheck, and they really don't have to be paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And it's more like they're ignoring, or they don't want to. I don't know if it's like, curious to hear your point of view, but I don't know what it is, because I love like organizing money for some reason. Like, to me, like
Yeah.
Excel sheets is like my best friend. I love it. I like get excited, when I'm seeing I'm saving some money. But I know,
Guys.
for example, like my husband, like he's a zero. Like he closes his eyes and he's just like, he's more of like, he likes to have actually hard cash, and he just like sets his budget in the sense of like, what's in my wallet is all that I can spend, and that's it. So
Right.
people have their different ways of saving, and it's like finding something that I guess works for you. But I feel like sometimes people also just don't want to maybe acknowledge what's going on, and that's why they don't organize. So I feel like, again, I'm curious to hear other people's opinions, but it's, I feel like it's more because like the organizing, like the beginning part of organizing is really annoying because it's like a lot of work or whatever. But once you get
Yeah.
into the routine and you have set your whatever your goals are, like these are my budgets, or I need to make sure to, like, whatever it is, maybe just like I just need to save 200 a month and that's it, whatever it is, like something simple.
Yeah.
Like the beginning is kind of annoying and kind of a hassle for the people that hate organizing. But
Yeah.
once you get into the routine, it's super easy. And I feel like if anything, it reduces that stress because you afterwards you're like, oh, this is easy. I can put 200 away. It's not as bad as I thought it was.
Exactly, right? So you just start from planning it up front. And people just really confuse their needs from their wants, right? And case in point, I have a tenant, right? And back in, I want to say maybe September, he sends me a text message and he's like, hey, it's my daughter's birthday coming up. I want to get a jumpy castle and organize a birthday party. Can I pay my rents a week late? Right? I'm just like, it's great that it's your daughter's birthday. Happy birthday to your daughter. But what's more important, your living, your rent, or throwing a party? Hey, maybe some people will say throwing a party but your rent, if you were living in a different province, right? Hey, this is where you can get evicted for defaulting on your rent, right? And the same gentleman, he messages me last week because the first of the month was coming up, or a week prior, and he says to me, hey, it was Christmas and everything, so instead of cashing my rent check on January 1st, can you cash it a week later? Right? And in my head again, I'm just like, you know what your needs versus your wants, you're prioritizing, right? And these are things that people need to do in order to stop living paycheck to paycheck, and in order to stop, pushing back, priorities or major expenses. Because nobody, it's always it's always funny how people want to pay for the things that they just kind of attached emotionally to first, as opposed to stuff that you've committed and you signed up for, and you know what I mean, your obligations, right? But
Mhm.
we got to
Yeah.
fix that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just also, even just thinking like the amount of energy that you put in, let's say spending money on, for example, the things that you just want. Um, like something I feel like we're forgetting in society is like the sacrifice. Like for example, like us as entrepreneurs, we sacrifice our hours and our time, for the better future. We're like, you know what, if we work hard for 2, 3 years, like set that business in place and get it like nice and stable, then it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're laughing afterwards. You have so much time. And I'm not telling other people to go start their own business because that's not like people, not many people like to do that. That's a very select few. But it's
Yep.
kind of the same thing in the sense like get your ducks in a row, like figure it out, make the plan. It's the beginning of the year. So it's a kind of motivational time, I feel like, for a lot of people. It's like that
Yep.
beginning, like let's get it started. Take advantage of that motivation and do that sacrifice, because if you really plan it out and kind of set your ducks in a row, and for example like that, like even just ask yourself, for example, let's say I need to save $5,000, and then you break it out, let's say it has to happen by September, and that means I need to divide that by 9 months, and this is how much I have to make each month. and then it starts really opening up your mind to figuring
Right.
out solutions for that, you know.
Yep.
And then, like you said, you start realizing what is really important, right? It really starts actually making you think, because then if your why is really strong as to why you need that money,
Right.
either you find the money from somewhere each month, or yeah, you find it, right? Like either in your income where you're just like, oh, why am I doing this? I don't need it. Why am I eating out so much? You know, like it's not only maybe going to help me health wise, but also I'm like saving on the budget a bit. Or maybe you're like, you know what, I could pick up a couple extra hours or whatever they decide to do. But it's at least opens your minds to now starting the possibilities of what you can do when you also set these goals, because now you're like, oh my god, I need to make actually like 400 this month. What you know, then it kind of gets the like your mind going, right? What do you
Right.
think?
Exactly. And it's tie back to the quote, you know, it's not, you could be making the exact same amount of money that you're making right now and still accomplish your goals. Like we said, it's not, more money is not going to solve your problems,
Mhm.
right? If anything, more money is going to give you more problems to be
If you
quite
don't
frank.
know how to even organize it, yeah. If you have no idea of
Exactly.
organizing, it's actually even more stressful. And actually, I think that's even a good point is it it isn't about the money. And if you're already like if your financials are disorganized, you're already stressed as it is, you're trying to figure it out and whatever. And when you actually organize it and have a plan, actually I feel like your stress actually reduces, and now you're kind of even being healthier in like mentally, because you're not like on this like that, like paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, oh my
Yep.
God, can I pay my rent next month? I need to ask for like a week extension. It's just kind of stresses that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, if you're a person, like you said, you want to take a vacation per year, you want, or you even want to be a person that donates, right? So, like, whatever makes you happy, whatever it is that, you know, whatever the life is that you want to live, right?
Hmm.
It's gonna really come down to, you know, planning, organizing, and good money management.
Discipline.
More money's
Yeah.
not gonna, more money's great, but more money is not gonna solve the problems. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That's definitely the discipline and organization. And it sucks at the beginning. Because I mean, let's say again, for me, money isn't, I don't really have to worry about the money thing. I feel like I, for some reason, was born with that discipline. Like it's fun for me. But
Right.
in entrepreneur, it's always like anything, right? Like even us starting businesses, getting our businesses running, there's a certain amount of discipline you have to put, that sacrifice. And at
Yep.
the beginning, it's super annoying. You hate it, and it's just like, ah, but you know the benefits that will come from it. And and like the relief that you get from when things are organized, you're not stressing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you don't even realize, you know, like that 200, 400 a month, all of a sudden it's just like maybe you're doing an auto deposit just automatically going in. And because I
Right.
know, for example, like that, like my husband um gives himself like cash, and he says like, for example, like 200, and he has to, you know, survive on that 200 in cash because he's more of a physical, like he needs it to be in his hand.
Right.
um and it just, for him, it helps him, right? Because he's just like, he starts seeing, you know, the money gets less, and he just looks and it's just like, okay, maybe I'm not going to go out to eat today because like the money is dwindling, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not going to do this, or I shouldn't shop. But like he loves to shop for tools, so he's like, maybe not today, you know.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. And everyone is different, right? So if like for you it's the spreadsheet, you like to put it on paper, to put it on a spreadsheet and document it. For him, his documentation is what is in his wallet, right? And everyone's
Exactly.
way of money managing, it can be different. So there isn't it isn't a right or a wrong way.
Yeah, very, very different. Like even another example I can give is I've always worked on credit cards. I love credit cards because it just tells me, you know, what I'm spending, right? And
Right.
same thing, like for example, other people, credit cards are like the death of them, you
That
know? It's
that's a
just like
devil, yeah.
it's just free money, you spend, 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 and then all
Yep.
of a sudden you're maxed out and you're like, oh, how did that happen?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's just like working within your constraints, like what works for you. Um, and it like helps you out like that. For me, like that was one of the things I found funny. That was like that for me. I love credit cards, and I never thought about the downside. But again, because I just always like every month I'm looking, and I'll even like I have like my set budgets, and if I look
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh man, I went over a little bit. Like let's say my budget is like $500 and I said 600. I'll be like, look, it makes me analyze like why did I go to 600 and be like, oh, I ate out quite a bit this month. I was like, maybe I need to cut that
Cut
down.
that back, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a way for you to dissect it in very analyze it in very small sections because of that. Because let's just say the goal is instead of retiring at 65, let's just say the goal is retiring at 60, right? That that's shaving off a whole 5 years of working. That's like a lot of time, right? But you can't see that today in January, right? You can't even. But if it's a difference of saving $100 in January, can you do that if you know that that would lead you to retiring 5 years earlier, right? So that's kind of, I guess that's what we mean by, it's about the life. This is life, living life on your terms, right? This is,
Mm-hmm.
you can't see the effects now,
Yeah.
but you've already calculated where it's going to get you 30 years from now, and that should be the motivation.
Yeah. Or even like one of the other examples you gave was, what if you just want to have like a long weekend every week? Or you do a three
Yeah.
day weekend instead of working 5 days a week. Now you're giving yourself a longer weekend.
Yep.
And again, like finding that motivation and like that money is never the motivation, to be honest. It's the thing that money gives you, right?
That's
It's
right.
like having those bills paid on time, for example, and not having to stress, or being able to, for example, work 4 days a week instead of five. Finding that it has to be something that really makes you want to focus on like budgeting yourself. Because if it's something like, let's say for me, I'm not interested in cars, right? So for example, something in our communities, it was like, oh, get the Lamborghini, like that shows your wealth. And to me, I was just like, I'm not really into cars. I was like, you talk to me about a vacation, I'm all there. Like I'm like, venturing out
Right.
in the middle of nowhere, meeting, like I'm getting to learn cultures. So it's like you have to find something that is what you're interested in. Because if you tell me like, oh, I'm gonna go get myself a Lamborghini, do you understand how much work I'll do to get that Lamborghini? Zero, because I have zero interest in getting a
Right.
Lamborghini.
And let's make it clear. There's nothing wrong with driving a Lamborghini, because if that is a lifestyle and if that is living life on your terms,
Hmm.
and you got to work towards to get it, then it's just what you got to do. Put a picture of a Lamborghini on your wall or on your screensaver, right?
Yeah,
And work towards it. Yep,
yeah,
definitely agreed.
100%. So it's even like that. It's very important to reflect on yourself and figure out. And sometimes I notice also becomes kind of testers, right? Like you're like, oh, I want this. And then you're working on it, and then you're just kind of like, actually, I didn't really want it. But then you
Yep,
start honing in on what it is actually you actually want. Because the
yep,
other problem I see is when you're in the grind, you don't get to learn about yourself. You don't really know what you want because you're so focused, like, I need to pay the bills, I need to work, I need to take care of the family, I need to put food on the table. Like you're so busy focusing on what you have to do that there's no time for is like, what do I actually want to do?
yep.
And so you'll think that, for example, oh, like that, like I want to get a Lamborghini, like that's the thing, like I'm going to work towards that goal. And then all of a sudden it shifts to something like completely different. Like now it's like, actually, I want to have a pool in my backyard because I love swimming. Like
Right,
you'll just completely change 360 because you may be going with the flow of what everyone's talking about or whatever is influencing you. But then, like that, as you start going through it, you start realizing, actually, this
yeah,
wasn't really the
yeah,
thing that I wanted. And actually, I want this. But as you get closer to that why, then you
yep.
start realizing your motivation grows more. And then you're like, ooh, I really want to save that money,
Right,
or work more hours or increase my pay, whatever it is to meet that goal. Like then you
right.
see your mind really starts like really going for it.
Yeah, that's such an excellent insight, because once you just kind of clear your mind and really just start to find out who you are, what makes you happy, and the things that actually satisfies you, right? It once if you start to get into that way of thinking, right? Yes, you will evolve, right? Like you said, it could be a Lamborghini, it could be a jewelry, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But once you kind of start getting into self-analyzing, and then maybe you get to the point where you can afford those things, then you're like, you know what? This
Actually
it's
wasn't
not
what I wanted.
it's not so important to me anymore. I have the money, I can get it, but I really just value my free time. So if I know that I'm gonna buy this Lambo or this piece of jewelry, and I'm gonna be back to hustling again and micromanaging again, nah, you know what? I really genuinely enjoy my free time. So I'm gonna just save and keep building, or investing in order to get more free time, right? But it really starts with you analyzing yourself from within, and start figuring out the things that you don't like, what's important to you. Once you get into that, you definitely will make better decisions.
Yeah. And like that, it's a learning process because, like we're talking about, because you're stuck in the grind, so busy just trying to like maintain whatever it is that you're maintaining, you don't realize what it is that you need. So, and as you evolve, like as money becomes more abundant, like you said, your shift starts happening because you just start realizing, I thought this is what I was interested, but actually it's more this or that. And and even as you get older, I mean, just naturally as you get older, you know, your goals will start shifting, which is I think something other people also, there's like some people that let's say don't like to set goals because they're like, oh, or plan them, not to set them, but like planning them because changes
Mhm.
will happen. They're like, oh, but like I plan it and then things happen and then like I have to change my plan. But I think that's also an important thing is that you're always going to be pivoting and you're always going to be changing, and like the plan is there, but the plan is also there to be changed. You can go and be like, you know what, like this was working for the first 5 months, but now I need to change it up because my circumstances have changed, and or my mindset has changed and I'm like ready to do something else, maybe go bigger, or like if anything I have other things to deal with and I rather put it in that place. But it's something that I just wanted to say because I noticed that some people also, I don't know if it's, I would say it's an excuse, but they don't want to like make the plans or organize it because they're like, oh, it's going to change, but change is okay. We
Change
want
is
to
okay.
pivot and go with the flow, and I mean, we're always changing, right? So it's, your goal is never going to be the same. It's always going to change and evolve with you, and you just have
Right.
to be willing to evolve also with it.
Yeah, and don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about, well, man, this is what I said I wanted. So, and I told people about it. So I have to do it. No, it's okay. It's okay to change. It is. Things evolve.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. Very true. It's also because I feel like that's another thing, right? It's you get kind of worried about, oh, I've said I'm doing this, now it has to be that way. You feel like obligated. And it's
Mhm.
like if you change your ideas, like you think for the rest is going to affect them. No, it only affects you as the
So
person. So if you change it,
exactly.
if anything, you're making yourself happier because you're like, oh, actually, this is what I wanted, and now you're going to move in that direction, and not letting other people be that, like nailed to the like it has to be done.
Has to be done. I said it. I put it out there. Nah,
Yeah.
as long as you're not, you know, going backwards, and as long as you're moving forward and progressing, then that's important.
Yeah, 100% agree. And
Hmm.
so, do you have any tips for people to help them? Actually, like, wait, before I said that, like, are you also like, what kind of person are you when it comes to money management? Like, are you like an Excel person? Like, how do you manage your money or not manage your money? But I'm pretty
Right?
sure you manage it at least a little bit.
I manage, and fortunately for me, I am a person that well, once I write it down on paper, right, and plan everything out and goals, it naturally starts happening up here, and I can retain a lot of it. So, and I'm actually kind of pre-wired not to make bad financial decisions, right? Maybe you call it frugal, maybe you call it cheap. I don't care what you call it, right? But I only spend on what things that I need, things that will make me more money, or things that make me really, really happy in the moment. And that sometimes it's just sharing time with family, even if it's a night out with friends, right? It doesn't happen often, but sometimes I'll splurge, right? Because I know 90% of the other times I'm really just spending money on what I need to buy. And that's kind of what my compass is like on every single purchase is, do I need this or I don't need this? And I go from there.
Okay. So you don't have any specific budgets then? It's more just you're going with the flow and it's more like asking yourself the right questions is more the way you work when it comes to what you're going to spend
Well,
money on?
you know what? Like, I don't want to say I go with the flow. I don't do a lot of discretionary spending.
Hmm.
Right. That's just kind of that already keeps me very grounded and very level. But I did always write things down at first because because you get to it, you start off a certain way, writing it down, Excel shell spreadsheet, looking up on your statements every month and analyzing, right?
Hmm.
After years of doing that, it just becomes easy, right? But
Hmm.
you have to kind
Or
of start from
memorize. Yeah, I know what you mean.
exactly.
Like you memorize it, like you already know, like this is my budget kind of thing. Like these are my budgets. So you see if you,
Right.
for at least for me, because you're right. With me, I can't say I'm very much with Excel sheets, let's say in my personal business stuff, because I already have, like you said, like so many years of like having my budgets that it's ingrained in me. So it's just like if I see something abnormal, I'm like, what's going on? But I
Yeah.
won't, let's say, track it in an Excel sheet. I don't really do that. That's more for like all like the houses and all my business stuff. That thing's like that needs to be managed because there's way too many things going on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. In the personal, I feel like that, and that's the ease of it, right? Like
Yeah.
you start off with like, ugh, hate it, writing it down. Fine, you may hate it, but then like that, it's just you memorize it and you kind of just like this is my budget, and you're either like that visually seeing it like this is my budget, so you just give it to yourself like this kind of
Hmm.
cash, or or you're just checking your statements and being like, was I okay this month? Did I meet my budget, or do I need to like analyze what happened?
Yeah. And to go back to kind of a tip to help people kind of maybe focus on their goals, and make it's very simple. It's to not live paycheck to paycheck. If you're overspending, what I would say to do is to, if you don't have the money for it, because you know what, the reason why people live a lot of paycheck to paychecks is because they spend on their credit cards. They take on a lot of debt and spending money that they don't have, right? And I think that's the first thing you need to do is, if you do not have the cash for it, right, do not buy it. It's just that simple to me, right? Unless it's an emergency, right? Unless it's like your house is flooding, or health wise you got to go pay for medication or something, or right, if if you don't have the cash for it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple for me.
And actually, something that I want to point out that I went through with one of my clients and it really helped them is actually we went through the bank statement and we wrote down, or credit card, I can't remember what it was, but we were going through the statements and it was like spend money eating, like she didn't realize how many times she was eating out because like that she just never like looked at it, right? And it was funny because we were writing it down like, okay, this much in this, and we are kind of categorizing things and like what's going to where. And like by the end of it, she was like in shock. She's like, oh my God, I could be like saving $400 just by the amount of money I'm eating out. And it was like that in itself was a little like shift for her. So I think even if you write it down and
Hmm.
actually go through and kind of put it down and even total up, how much you're spending like on beauty, how much you're doing on, let's say, entertainment, restaurants, like organizing, and then just it will, and then totaling those up, because sometimes the totaling also helps like that. Like it was like $400 a month, I think she was spending on eating out, and she was in shock because it was also like little eating out, like fast food, like it was like McDonald's here, McDonald's there, and like that. Like sometimes like there's the people that also like the little spenders, you know, like the dollar store, like these little ones where you're like, oh, I'm only spending this much, this much, this much, and and you're like, but I'm not spending like $200 in one go. So you kind of,
Right.
you think it feels better, but until you add it up and you're just like, oh man, I kind of spent quite a bit of
A
money on
lot.
like
Right.
fast food, or like the things that are cheaper, where you think like, oh, I'm gonna go cheap because it's only, you know, like the dollar, oh, it's only like $5, like that's not a big deal, but those
Right.
$5 will add up and you don't realize it.
Yep.
So that's something I think for people is kind of like a nice reality check, is going through maybe like 2 3 months of statements and just see where the money is going, right? Because that
Mhm.
in itself, I feel like does the click to some people, and you'll just think, you know what, maybe I don't want to spend money on that, and I rather put it in this location or that location.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So guys, get on it. Start
ASAP.
checking out. Checking out, because the year has started and you want to get off on the right foot, and just get those goals accomplished. And what a better way than just planning it out, and
Yep.
like that, just seeing where your money's going in the moment and plan out how you're going to make it happen. And you'll see that it will happen.
Yeah. More money's not gonna solve the problem.
Yeah. Any final words?
Um, yeah, I think it's just to kind of reiterate again, it's what life do you want to live? Right? Focus on that and it will lead you the right direction.
100%. Thanks you so much, Randy. Love chatting with you like always. Thank you everyone
Likewise.
for watching, and
Thanks,
we'll see
guys.
you on the next episode. Bye
All
everyone.
right.
Bye
Take
Randy.
care. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Hi everyone. Hi Randy. How are you?